Good morning, my friend. Konnichiwa. So, today I want to talk about the benefits of learning a new language. I'm not sure how the audio will turn out to be. I'm recording this episode standing in the middle of the ocean, knee deep, and I'm actually wondering how this outcome will be. Hopefully I can hear myself. Not 100% sure, but just bear with me. If this thing turns out to be well, I will post it. If not, I will re-record it. Okay, here it goes. I've been thinking about why I'm here and that I'm at the age of 50, I'm standing on the beach and I can do anything I want to do in my life. What is the one thing that changed my life from the beginning, and that was the starting block of a domino effect that was able to trigger everything else in my life? And there's just one thing I can think of is mastering the German language. So here's the story that I have never told anybody else on the internet before. This is for the very first time, and I will tell the story now to everyone who wants to listen. So at the age of 15, I was brought to Germany by my dad for migration purpose because he didn't see any future in China back then, and he thought it is better for me to go Germany. Of course, he didn't prepare me for that. I literally was put in a train. The train went from Wuhan to Beijing, then from Beijing to Moscow, then from Moscow to Berlin, then from Berlin to Köln. And that's the very first time I went on a long journey. And when I arrived, I was thrown into the deep end. It's the equivalent of somebody who does not know how to swim, and you get dumped over a boat in the middle of the ocean. Either you learn how to swim or you die. So my task was very simple. At the age of 15, I had 4 years to graduate from the high school system of the German public education system. And you need to get a certificate. Then you will be able to go to university for free. And of course, like if that's not hard enough, I had zero knowledge in German. And I also had no financial support. Me and my dad, we had to work our ass off through manual labor to be able to pay for our own cost of living. It was pretty hard, to say the least. But the hardest part of them all was the lack of language. And this was my first time experiencing total immersion program, which means with no prior knowledge, I had to study normal school subjects, the usual one that every other 15-year-old kid in Germany has to study, but in German, a language I didn't even know how to spell the alphabet in. So basically, learn everything from scratch, and it was incredibly difficult to survive. But it taught me a lot of lessons in the process, and I believe I'm still learning the I'm still using the lesson I learned back then for my progress today. And I believe also if I didn't go through that difficult time in my past, I wouldn't be where I am today. And most people just think I got lucky. The truth is pretty far away from that. And I want anyone who is listening to this to understand that learning a language is not an easy thing to do. But the most immersive way of learning is by completely being thrown off into the deep end, and then your ability to learn the language is a survival instinct. So basically, the best way to learn is when your life is at stake. Let's say if you don't learn the skill of the language, you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't generate income, you can't make friends, and you get kicked out of the country. When all those conditions are present, naturally your brain go into overdrive mode and wanting to survive. And the only way to survive is by speaking the language, using the language to your best possible ability. So what I want my friends who are learning Japanese right now to learn from this episode is the following. Yes, Japanese is a difficult language. However, it is quite easy to learn when you have a shelter over your head, when you have food in the belly, and when you can drink a morning coffee and relax yourself and go slowly through the process of learning, and when your survival is not at stake. This is the easiest thing to do. And here's the counterintuitive part. If you want to have better result for your language learning outcome, the best thing you could do is actually tell your brain that your survival is at stake. Which means if you don't learn your Japanese well, and the bakery lady wouldn't understand you, and you don't get your bread. And if you don't speak Japanese well, the job you want to be on wouldn't hire you. And if you don't speak Japanese well, the girl you want to date wouldn't want to talk to you because she doesn't speak any other language other than Japanese. So, the basic survival instinct for a man has to kick in before you'll be motivated to do as well as you can. And this is the only downside I have for my situation right now. I'm trying my very best to put myself back in the same situation to learn Japanese. I'm telling myself every day, if I decide to go to Japan to do business in real estate, if I don't speak Japanese well enough, then people would know that I don't understand anything about the culture, the background, the market. Therefore, they're going to pull me over the table and probably make it impossible for me to get a good price for the real estate I want to buy. So every word I learn in Japanese is going to potentially save me hundreds of thousands of dollars of purchase price when I do a deal in real estate. That is one motivation. Another motivation I have is that if I don't speak Japanese well enough in a few months' time, then any person I meet, I wouldn't be able to get into a deep relationship with. This includes both men and women, because the men would just stay superficial. They wouldn't be your real friends. And the women would just be polite, and they would never get in any kind of relationship with you. So it's all about the depths of the relationship I'm envisioning for myself in the context of the Japanese language. So the reward I set out there for me personally is that in next few months, I want to be able to go into a Japanese store and buy anything with the language I learned and make the person who sell me the item feel comfortable. I tried yesterday, by the way. I went to a Japanese supermarket yesterday. All I could get out was a konnichiwa. And when I wanted to have a conversation, I resorted back to English automatically because she started talking English first. Because my konnichiwa was not good enough to be classified as Japanese. At the same time, there's another guy who is obviously Japanese, and when he said konnichiwa, the conversation automatically continued in Japanese between the salesperson and him. That's the difference. I want to be able to go into a Japanese store, being spoken to in Japanese, and have a real conversation in their language. That is one of the goals. Now, I hope this brings some kind of inspiration to my friends who are learning Japanese, and particularly to my son who is just starting this week with his 15 hours a week exposure in Japanese language. I let him choose whatever he wants, and he has chosen Pokemon so far, which is perfectly fine for me. After all, he is 12 years old. Pokemon was always his favorite game, and he's a very good trading card businessman in Pokemon cards. So that's a good start. Let's hope this can motivate him continue his journey in the Japanese language. All right. Talk to you in another podcast. Bye.